Precisely 6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News edited by Lal Mallavarshi and read by Sharifa Tahir. Headlines. China reaffirmed its enduring support to Sri Lanka. Red warning of large-scale flooding in several areas. 2 spill gates of the Victoria Reservoir have been automatically opened. The vote of the second reading of the budget will take place today. The Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce of the Sri Jayawardhanapura University has been temporarily closed. Today is World Television Day. The UNICEF chief says that the world can't lose the sight of abducted children in Palestine. Left-arm paceman Dilshan Madhushankar is included into ICC team of tournament. Local news in detail. The special envoy of the Chinese President's State Councillor Mrs. Shen Yuqin and the delegation paid a courtesy call on President Ranil Wickremesinghe yesterday at the Presidential Secretariat. The primary focus of the meeting was to enhance tourism and trade relations between the two countries. The President expressed gratitude to China's support to Sri Lanka, notably acknowledging their assistance in the country's debt restructuring program. He extended sincere thanks to the Chinese President and the government for their invaluable support in this regard. Additionally, President Ranil Wickremesinghe expressed Sri Lanka's desire to augment cooperation between the two countries in the fields of tourism, sports and agriculture, also highlighted that both the Hambantota Port and Port City are currently prepared for investment opportunities. The President also noted that countries such as Sri Lanka, participants in the Belt and Road Initiative, are prepared to embark on the second phase of the initiative, which is expected to make a more substantial economic contribution. The Chinese Special Envoy stated that China is also prioritizing the extension of the China-Myanmar Economic Corridor to Sri Lanka. Additionally, both parties agreed to expedite the implementation of the China-Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement. Mrs. Shen Yuqin reaffirmed China's enduring support to Sri Lanka and emphasized her commitment to strengthening the relations between the two countries. The Irrigation Department has issued a red warning of potential large-scale flooding in several divisional secretariat divisions stemming from significant rainfall in the upper and middle reaches of the Maha Oya Basin. The flood warning initially issued for the Deduru Oya Basin has been extended for the next 24 hours, with the Irrigation Department closely monitoring the situation. Very high rainfall has occurred in most of the upstream middle reach catchment areas of the Maha Oya. By analyzing the current rainfall situation and river water level of hydrological stations in the Maha Oya, the Irrigation Department warned that there is a high possibility of major floods occurring in the low-lying areas of the Maha Oya Valley in Alawa, Divulapitiya, Meerigama, Pannala, Vennapuwa, Nigambu, Katana, Narammala and Dankotua Divisional Secretariat divisions. Heavy rainfall in the central hills has contributed to the rising water levels, leading to the opening of sluice gates in several reservoirs to manage the excess water. As a result, floods have been reported in various regions, heightening the risk of inundation in low-lying areas. The Kalawava Reservoir reached spill level and 2 of its floodgates were opened. Meanwhile, 8 sluice gates of the Rajangane Reservoir have been opened at present to release the excess water into the Kalawava. The Giribawa Rajanganea Road is underwater and is impassable. The Mahavali Authority says that all the sluice gates of the Kotmale Reservoir have been opened. Due to this reason, the Victoria Reservoir is full to the brim, and 2 spill gates have been automatically opened, releasing heavy flow of excess water to the Mahavali River. The public living close to the banks of the Mahavali River have been warned to take precautions because of the rising water levels. Several roads in the Kandy district have been closed due to earth slips. The Parliament meets at 9:30 am today. General Secretary of the Parliament, Kushani Rohanadira, says that the vote of the second reading of the budget will take place at 6 p.m. The committee's staged debate will begin tomorrow. It will be held until the 13th of December, except on Sundays. The vote of the third reading of the budget is to be held at 6 p.m. on that day. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation giving you the news. We continue with more stories here at home. The Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce of the Sri Jayawardhanapura University has been temporarily closed following protests by students near the Vice-Chancellor's office. Vice-Chancellor of the University, Senior Professor Padmanabhan M. Manage said a group of students had protested against the suspension of 6 students over disciplinary issues. Today is World Television Day. The United Nations announced a World Television Day in 1996 because television is an important tool in the transmission of information to the people in policy making and decision making. According to the current situation, the same work is done by different types of communication tools, but television and radio have a special place as electronic tools that communicate news to the people in a more accurate and reliable manner. Focusing on this, Minister of Transport, Highways and Mass Media, Dr. Bandala Gunawardena, has submitted a special cabinet paper regarding the merger of radio and television. That's local news for the moment.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Veda Mahatmya.
State Minister of Finance Ranjit Siambalapitiya said value-added tax, which will come into effect from January 2024, is only a short-term measure to boost government revenue. Addressing a meeting in Ruwanwala, he said the government announced in October that the VAT rate will increase from 15 to 18% with effect from the 1st of January 2024. He also said that the VAT increase will not affect several sectors, including electricity tariffs.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Veda Mahatmya.
On Watchlight, Mrs. Nimalka Pannilahetti, Community Medicine Specialist of the National Dengue Control Unit, said that the number of dengue patients across the country has increased to 72,840. The highest number of patients is reported from the Western Province, and the amount is 34,645. That is 47.5% of the total number of dengue-infected patients. 45 dengue high-risk zones have been identified in the island so far. In order to reduce the spread of dengue, the public is requested to take measures to keep the environment clean during the rainy season. That came to you on Watchlight. Moving on to world news. Headlines. The UNICEF chief says that the world can't lose sight of the abducted children. UK government's chief scientific advisor during the pandemic described the PM Boris Johnson as weak and indecisive. A hat belonging to Napoleon Bonaparte was sold for $2.1 million. World news in detail. The head of UNICEF, Catherine Russell, has been to Gaza last week. Speaking on her visit, she said that the scale and pace of death and injury has been most shocking, and one death of a child is too many. She further said that the UN is going to have to make the Gaza Strip livable again, adding that it is important not to lose sight of the children who were abducted from Israel by Hamas on 7th October. She also expressed hope that at some point these children will be released and be able to return to their families, although no such progress has been achieved in this regard yet. Sir Patrick Vallance, the government's chief scientific advisor during the pandemic, described then PM Boris Johnson as weak and indecisive in a private diary entry. Vallance tells the COVID inquiry the comments were made in a late-night moment of frustration with government decision-making. The inquiry has also heard that Vallance described Johnson as clear bamboozled by COVID science, but then he was not the only Western leader to struggle. Johnson, who will give his own evidence, is also said by Vallance to have been very skeptical about long COVID and briefly suggested the virus should be allowed to rip through the population. Finally, on world news, a hat belonging to Napoleon Bonaparte when he ruled France in the 19th century has been sold for $2.1 million at an auction in Paris. The black beaver felt hat was valued between 600,000 and 800,000 euros. The person who bought the hat has not made themselves known. Historians say the hat was part of his brand. Wearing it sideways made him recognizable in battle. He owned about 120 BICOM had over the years. And that's on World News.
Development News.
A project to expand the production capacity of the Ampara tie factory under the SLTB revival program commenced with the aim of strengthening new development strategies. The foundation stone of the new factory building was laid by Minister Bandulu Konowardena in the hope of expanding the production capacity of the institute. Addressing the gathering, the minister said that 2024 will mark the beginning of the golden era of SLTB. 120 million rupees will be spent on this project carried out by the State Development and Construction Corporation. 1/3 of the annual demand of tyres of the SLTB will be manufactured in this factory in the future.
Moving on with sports news.
Sri Lankan young left-arm paceman Darshan Madhushankar is included in the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup 2023 team of the tournament. Players from 5 teams have been named in his team, while Madhushankar is the only team member out of the 4 semi-final teams. Madhushankar took 21 wickets, the third among the highest wicket takers in this tournament. All-rounder Glenn Maxwell and spinner Adam Zampa are included after helping Australia to a record-extending 6th triumph. KL Rahul, Ravindra Jadeja and Jasprit Bumrah are among the 6 Indian stars selected alongside leading run scorers Kohli and Sharma, as well as leading wicket-taker Mohammad Shami.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න as වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account. NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Nearly 200,000 new taxpayers have been registered in 2023 so far, whilst the Committee on Public Accounts last week urged expeditious upgrade to the Revenue Administration Management Information System. This and other recommendations figured when the Indian Revenue Department was questioning the Committee on Public Accounts whether the government is properly receiving the value-added tax paid by the public for various goods. At present, about 13,000 institutions have registered for value-added tax, and the Indian Revenue Department officials said they are investigating the payment of the relevant tax to the government by those institutions.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න as වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account. NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
And on economic news, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, together with the Department of Agriculture and the Mahawali Authority of Sri Lanka, with funding from the European Union, recently launched a Farmer Field Schools program to train 6,000 smallholder paddy farmers across 4 key rice-growing districts on sustainable approaches to paddy cultivation.
Weather Report.
Moving on to the weather update, showers or thunder showers will occur at several places in most provinces of the island after 1 p.m. Fairly heavy showers above 75 millimeters are likely at some places in the central, Sabaragamuwa, northwestern and Uva provinces. Showers may occur at some places in the northern and eastern provinces and in Hambantota district during the morning too. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central and Uva provinces during the morning. That's the weather update. Back to the headlines before we wind up the bulletin of news. China reaffirmed its enduring support to Sri Lanka. Red warning of large-scale flooding in several areas. 2 spill gates of the Victoria Reservoir have been automatically opened. The vote of the second reading of the budget will take place today. The Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce of the Sri Javardhanapura University has been temporarily closed. Today is World Television Day. The UNICEF chief says that the world can't lose the sight of the abducted children in Palestine. Left-arm paceman Dilshan Madhushankar is included into ICC team of tournament. With that, we conclude the morning bulletin of news. Back to Sandra this morning to give you some good company.